Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 4, Text number 47. The Amsabhuvya prayers. Ahamevasam Nanyat kinchantaram vai Samjnanamatram avyaktam Prasuptam iva vishvataha. Translation and purport by Divine Gita Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Before the creation of this cosmic manifestation, I alone existed with my specific spiritual potencies. Consciousness was then unmanifested, just as one's consciousness is unmanifested during the time of sleep. Little lengthy purport, very nice purport. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki. The word Aham indicates a person. As explained in the Vedas, Nityo Nityanam Chetana Chetananam, the Lord is the supreme eternal among the innumerable eternals and the supreme living being among the innumerable living beings. The Lord is a person who has impersonal features, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Vadanti tat tattva vidat tattvam me jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabhyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma or Bhagavan. Consideration of the Paramatma and impersonal Brahman arose after the creation. Before the creation, only the Supreme Personality of Godhead existed. As firmly declared in Bhagavad Gita 18.55, the Lord can be understood only by Bhakti Yoga. The ultimate cause, the supreme cause of creation is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can be understood only by Bhakti Yoga. He cannot be understood by speculative knowledge, speculative philosophical research or by meditation, since all such processes came into existence after the material creation. The impersonal and localized conception of the Supreme Personality conception of the Supreme Lord are more or less materially contaminated. The real spiritual process, therefore, is Bhakti Yoga. As the Lord says, Bhaktyama abhijanati. Only by devotional service can I be understood. Before the creation, the Lord existed as a person, as indicated here by the word Aham. When Prajapati Daksha saw him as a person, was beautifully dressed and ornamented, he actually experienced the meaning of this word Aham through devotional service. Each person is eternal, because the Lord says that he existed as a person before the creation, Agre, and will exist after the annihilation. The Lord is a person eternally. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura therefore quotes these verses from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.9.13 and 14. Na cha antar na bahi yasya na purvam na pi chaparam Purva param bhai chantar jagato e jagat chayaha Tham matva atmajam avyaktam martya lingam madokshajam gopi kule kale dhamna babanda prakritam yata. The personality of Godhead appeared in Vrindavan as the son of Mother Yashoda, who bound the Lord with rope, just as an ordinary mother binds a material child. There are actually no divisions of external and internal for the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Satchidananda Vigraha. But when he appears in his own form, the unintelligent think him as an ordinary person. Avajananti ma muda manushim tanamashritam. Although he comes in his own body, which never changes, mudas, the unintelligent think that the impersonal Brahman has assumed the material body to come in the form of a person. Ordinary living beings assume material bodies, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not. Since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Supreme Consciousness, it is stated here that Samjnana Matram, the original consciousness, Krishna consciousness, was unmanifested before the creation. Although the consciousness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the origin of everything. The Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita 2.12, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Thus the Lord's person is absolute truth in the past, present and future. In this regard, Madhvacharya quotes 2 verses from Matsya Purana. Nana varno haristva eko bhau sisha bhujo rupa hasil laye tad anyattu sukshma rupam shriyam vina asupta supta ivacha militaksho bhavaddhari anyatra anadharadad vishnu shrishal-lineva katyate sukshma atvena aro sthanal Linam anyat apishyate. After the annihilation of everything, the Supreme Lord, because of his Satchidananda Vigraha, remains in his original form. But since the other living entities have material bodies and material bodies, the matter merges into matter. And the subtle form of the spirit soul remains within the body of the Lord. The Lord does not sleep, but the ordinary living entities remain asleep until the next creation. An unintelligent person thinks that the opulence of the Supreme Lord is non-existent after the annihilation, but that is not a fact. The opulence of the Supreme Personality of God remains as it is in the spiritual world. Only in the material world is everything dissolved. Brahmalina, merging into the Supreme Brahman, is not actual lina or annihilation. For the subtle form remain in the Brahman effulgence, will return to the material world after the material creation and again assume a material form. This is described as bhutva praliyate. When the material body is annihilated, the spirit soul remains in a subtle form, which later assumes another material body. This is true for the conditioned soul, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead remains eternally in its original consciousness and spiritual body. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Aham eva samevagre nanyat kinchantaram bahi samjnana matram avyaktam prasuptam iva vishvataha. Before the creation of this cosmic manifestation, I alone existed with my specific spiritual potency. Consciousness was then unmanifested, just as one's consciousness is unmanifested during the time of sleep. So here in this chapter we are reading the Hamsaguhya prayers, which was offered. It is there in the Vedas. Now Daksha is offering this. And after hearing these prayers, we have been reading last few verses. Lord, Supreme Personality of God, He is speaking actually. These are the words spoken by the Lord. And Lord was very pleased with Daksha and He gave darshan. Prabhupada also writes in today's purport that only by devotional service can I be understood. Before the creation, the Lord existed as a person, as indicated here by the word aham. So this word aham appears in many places in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, in the Vedic literature. So Lord is a person. We are all person. We are all eternal. That's why Prabhupada begins the purport also. The word aham indicates person. Because always there is a confusion, correct? Whether we are person or imperson, like Mayavadis they say. Then Prabhupada immediately quotes, as explained in the Vedas, Nityo Nityanam, Chetanas Chetananam. The Lord is the supreme eternal among the innumerable eternal. We are all eternal. The spirit soul, the spark, we are all eternal. The body is perishable. So, but He is the supreme eternal. And Chetanas Chetananam. We have consciousness, we all know. So, the consciousness is the symptom of the soul. And Lord is also supreme consciousness. So, He is supreme eternal among the innumerable eternal, and the supreme living being among the innumerable living being. That is Lord's position. So here it is mentioned, and when Prajapati Daksha saw him as a person, was beautifully dressed and ornamented. We read few verses before. Elaborate description of the Lord is given. So, then Prabhupada quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam. But there are different phases of understanding or stages of understanding. Bhagavatam in the beginning itself it begins. Vadanti tat tattva vidas. Prabhupada is quoting that famous verse. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance as Brahman, Paramatma or Bhagavan. So, Bhagavan is the complete understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because Aham, Krishna says here, I existed before the creation. Then only all these different, Brahma was created, we know, then 7 sages were created, then all this progeny happened, population will increase. So, before creation, Lord only existed. So, that means to understand Krishna, Prabhupada 3 places in today's purport he says, we can know only by bhakti or devotional service. Otherwise there is no other way. And we can know this only from the Lord or his pure devotee, representative spiritual master who is coming in the parampara. That's why throughout the Bhagavad Gita, if you see, again and again, Krishna brings out his position. Because on our own, if we try to speculate, if we try to understand, actually it will all be misleading. That's why Prabhupada writes in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita itself, correct? There are so many interpretations of Bhagavad Gita. People may be wondering why one more interpretation is required. Why it is required? Why it is required? We heard recently also. Because Prabhupada is presenting here Bhagavad Gita as it is. So, what he heard from his spiritual master, so it is coming in the parampara. So that's why you see in the 4th chapter, 7th chapter, 9th chapter, and many verses in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling about his own position. Because he is transcendental, he is adokshaja, and if we try to speculate, we will come to a wrong conclusion. That's why Prabhupada here he writes in the purport, he cannot be understood by speculative philosophical research, just like the jnani. They are also searching for the truth, but they cannot understand. Or by meditation, since all such processes came into existence after the material creation. So before creation nothing was there, only Lord was there, correct? So this way we should understand. In fact, in the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam also, if you have noticed today's verse, the first line is the same thing. Aham evasam evagre. Aham, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Eva, certainly. And sam, asam means was. Eva again Prabhupada translates as only. Agre, in the beginning. So when Krishna was giving this instruction, he was imparting this knowledge to Lord Brahmaji. Bhagavatam just is condensed in 4 verses actually. Chaturshloki Bhagavatam it is called. It's in the 2nd canto, 9th chapter, 33 to 36 verse. So there also the 33rd verse, first verse, Krishna begins to speak this. And why he spoke to Brahma? Because Brahma he did tapasya. He had to create, he didn't know anything, everything was dark. So he underwent severe tapasya. So Lord spoke these 4 verses. So it contains everything. Just like in Bhagavad Gita also we have Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita. Where it appears? In which chapter? 10th chapter. Which verse? 8, 9, 10, 11. Yes. Aham sarvasya prabho. See again that aham sarva. Everything is emanating from me. Both material world and spiritual world. Everything is coming from Krishna. Like this we should understand. So, there are many references in the Vedas, Puranas, Upanishad. In another place it is said, Eko Narayana Asit. There was only Narayana before creation. Only Vishnu, Narayana. Nobody else was there. So, Lord is, Narayana was there, and we know Shankaracharya also, when he was writing his Bhagavad Gita Bhashya, he has mentioned Narayana Para Avyakta. So Narayana or Krishna or Vishnu is transcendental. So if you want to understand him, we have to understand from him only or a bona fide spiritual master. So Krishna, if you analyze, if you read Bhagavad Gita 4th chapter, particularly systematically, many times you would have heard this, verse after verse actually, 4.1, 4.1 to 4.10, 11, Krishna very clearly says about himself. Correct? When you are speaking to Arjuna, Arjuna immediately adds some doubt in the third verse. Because second verse speaks about, first Krishna says, I spoke this to sun god Vivaswan. Vivaswan spoke to his Manu, then he spoke to his son Iskwaku, like that the parampara. Even second famous verse is that Evam parampara praptam. Third verse, Krishna says, why Arjuna was chosen? Because Bhakto Asime Saka Seti. Correct? So, immediately Arjuna is asking this question in the fourth verse. We are all contemporary. How am I to understand that you spoke to Vivaswan millions of years before? Because they were cousins of almost same age. And here Arjuna is there, Krishna is giving this message of Bhagavad Gita. Correct, that fourth and fifth verse. Arjuna immediately is asking, Arjuna Vacha, the sun god Vivaswan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? Very reasonable, very logical question Arjuna is asking, correct? So we have heard this many times. So immediately Krishna, in the next verse he says, Sri Bhagavan Vacha, the Blessed Lord said, many, many births, both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot. See, that is our position. Actually, Arjuna is a very advanced devotee, Nitya Siddha Bhakta. But he is playing that part. Krishna covered his transcendental vision by Yogamaya potency so that he could speak Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. Not only for Arjuna's benefit, Prabhupada explained in many places, for all our humanity, Bhagavad Gita, it is song of God, message of God, Krishna directly speaking. So today also we can experience the same message of Bhagavad Gita if we read Bhagavad Gita, if we understand in the same mood, in the same, we should understand Krishna, or here Krishna, Prabhupada says in one place, we have to know, we have to understand Krishna when we hear from Krishna or his pure devotee coming in the disciplic succession. There is no other way actually. We may be very scholarly person. That's why many times they miss out this purpose, correct? Prabhupada says, so-called scholar. Why? Because they say, maybe, probably, all these words they use actually. Just like Prabhupada compares them to a scientist. They don't know actually what is the fact. They go on speculating actually. So that way we cannot understand the Supreme Lord who is transcendental, who is in the spiritual world. And we are all conditioned soul here. We have 4 defects. With these 4 defects, we try to understand something. Actually, it will never be possible actually. We will come to a wrong understanding. We will not understand exactly. In Tattvata, we will never understand. So, that's why it is mentioned, bhakti or devotional service is not any activity of this material world. See, this service, what we are doing here, apparently it looks like normal activity. Correct? Anybody gets in the morning, does some activities, does some work. We are also doing some activity here. Correct? Somebody is cooking. So, a lot of people are cooking in the outside world. Somebody is selling. A lot of people are selling many products. But because there is a relationship with Krishna, actually it is not the same. It is transcendental actually. That's why Krishna says, again in the sequence 4th chapter, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tektva devam punarjanma naiti iti mamsa arjuna. So Janma and Karma, Krishna's activities, they are not ordinary. Just like we heard yesterday also in that class, that creation, maintenance, annihilation, everything is done by the Lord. All these things are described in the early chapters, in the early cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that we come to a correct understanding, we are actually Vyasadeva is preparing us so that we'll come to a proper understanding of who Krishna is. That's why it is recommended that we read Bhagavatam right from beginning, first canto, then we come to 10th canto. 10th canto is compared to the face of the Lord. So we should not jump straight away to 10th canto, like Prabhupada always says about this Bhagavata Sapta and all. These speaker professional reciters, they just jump to the 10th canto. But all these things are Leela, Krishna's Leela, creation, how creation happened, how maintenance is happening. Everything is happening in an orderly way, correct? Systematically it's happening. Day after day after, year after year, the same thing is going on. So, then actually we will, so bhakti is an activity in relationship with Krishna. Prabhupada in another place he says, it's a relationship with Krishna. Actually we are all related to the Supreme Lord because we are all part and parcel of Lord. But right now we have forgotten that. So what we are doing in this sadhana bhakti, what we are doing in devotional service is trying to revive our lost relationship with Lord. Nitya Siddha Krishna Bhakti Sadhya Kabunai Shravanadi Suddha Chete Kare Udai. So this, it's a Nitya Siddha actually, but we have forgotten all these things. So Shravanadi Suddha Chete, just by hearing. So hearing Lord's activity, hearing Krishna's pastime in the Bhagavatam, hearing the holy name, actually we are reviving our lost relationship with Lord. Our relationship cannot be cut. It is existing. Right now, we have forgotten that. So the whole process of bhakti is to revive our lost relationship with Krishna. That's why Krishna also says in the 14th chapter, Mamchayo vyavacharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatitaita brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So, if we render devotional service unfailing in all circumstances, because when as a sadhaka, when you are practicing, there may be some difficulties, hurdles will come. It will not be very smooth. Maya will keep on testing us. So we should be determined, unfailing in whatever condition. Because once we get this knowledge, at least we are all fortunate. We can understand when we are reading, when you are hearing, we get this accurate knowledge at least. So to reach that destination, maybe it's a long way. It all depends upon us. So at least we are not getting cheated actually. The outside world full of cheaters and cheated actually. So we are fortunate. So then Prabhupada writes, if we can understand these facts, Krishna, his form, his name, actually, then we will go back to Godhead. Very simple process, correct, bhakti? But why we are finding it very difficult? Because right now, our consciousness is not fully awakened actually. So all this Krishna consciousness is nothing but awakening our consciousness. So these acharyas, they have given us this process. So if we take to this, then it will be very easy. Actually, we can understand Krishna. Krishna is not understood by great scholars actually. But you see, we small bhaktas, we can understand the Supreme Lord. So it's by the costless mercy. So, but less intelligent class of men cannot understand Krishna. Because our material senses are imperfect. And the instrument which we try to use, they are all imperfect. Our senses are imperfect. We commit mistake. We are prone to illusion. So with these defects, we try to understand the Adhokshaja, who is transcendental. We can never understand. That's why it's whatever people are, the Jnani process, this yogi process, particularly in Kali Yuga, it's very, very difficult. That's why Krishna again he sums up in the last verse of the Bhagavad Gita in the 6th chapter, 6.47. Yoginam api sarvesham madgati antaratmanam. Of all types of yogis, Krishna spoke about karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga. Then he sums up actually, Prabhupada says, so, yoginam api sar madgate, and who is meditating on me, shaddamam bhajate yuma, and with faith renders service unto me, same yukta tamo mataha. Krishna is giving his opinion. He is the topmost yogi who is rendering devotional service. And we see there are so many yogi, jnani, they are trying intellectually to understand Krishna. They'll miss actually. So, that's why Bhagavatam says, it is something like, it's shrama evai kevalam. You may be doing labor, you may be working hard through other yogic process, jnanic process, but it is shrama evai kevalam. Useless labor actually. Because that is not the way. That's what Vedic literature again and again it is brought out. So, then Prabhupada speaks in another place he says, so when we try to speak about transcendental knowledge with our own understanding, actually it is cheating. We are cheating actually. Because with this, we are full of defects. So our duty is to just repeat what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. And all these acharyas who are also accepted the same, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whereas if you read the Mayavadi philosophy or impersonalist translation, Prabhupada quotes give many examples, correct? When Krishna says, Manmana bhav madbhakto madhyaji ma namaskaru. It's not to Krishna, something inside Krishna or within Krishna, like that they say. Krishna is speaking aham, he is speaking to Arjuna directly, he is telling, Manmana, think of me. What is there to interpret? There is no need of interpretation actually. But these Mayavadis, they get into all these things. Or Prabhupada quotes about the first verse of Bhagavad Gita itself, Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre. Very clear it is. Correct? There is a Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra, there is a place, and both the parties they assembled, used Sava, they wanted to fight. But the so-called scholar, they say there was nothing like Dharma Kshetra, there was no Kurukshetra war, it's all, there are no five Pandavas, there are all five senses. All these things, they actually speculate. But Krishna, whereas he is speaking directly. So our process is to receive perfect knowledge from perfect source and distribute it as it is. Prabhupada in one place says. Our process is to receive this perfect knowledge. Because knowledge is perfect. Though we are imperfect, this knowledge is perfect. And it's accepted by all the acharyas. Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Shankaracharya. And we have to distribute the same. So, Bhagavad Gita is perfect. Why shall I interpret? This is cheating. Because people are not serious today. They also want to keep Bhagavad Gita at home. It's a good feeling, good emotion you can say. They are having this Bhagavad Gita with them. Because it's like a fashion. Prabhupada says, just like you keep a dog. It's a fashion today. These are all very common in the Western world, in India also, in our Bharat Bhumi also, all these things are happening. So just like you have a guru, it's a I have so-and-so guru. See, these are not going to help us actually. And we are all very short-lived. Just imagine. how people will be lost. Correct? We don't know. As it is, we spend a lot of time. Somehow we come in touch. And within this short span, if we are not serious and sincere seeker, actually, there are a lot of cheaters, and we also want to get cheated. That's why we get into the trap. Otherwise, there is no this thing. Therefore, Prabhupada says, Maya is very strong. It dictates so that you may be cheated. See, Maya is very strong. We all know Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Devi Esha Gunamai. So we get cheated. What is that? Why you want to worship Krishna? You can become God. You are yourself God. Like Mayavadi sannyasis address each other as Narayana. Om Namo Narayana, Narayana. Prabhupada mentioned. So we can also become God. You are incarnation. Why you have to worship somebody? Why you have to take all this? That is not the correct path actually. So, because this dharma, Krishna very clearly says in the Bhagavad Gita, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Abandon all varieties of religion. Just surrender unto me alone. So people may be wondering what happened if I surrender, what will happen to my family, my friends, my relatives. Aham tam sarva papebhyo mokshashyami masaja. Krishna is assuring, I will free you from all sinful reaction. Because we are all here because of our sinful act in the past. Mahasucha, Krishna is giving a guarantee, do not fear, do not worry. So, there's a direct instruction is there in the Bhagavad Gita. And this we have to understand. What is dharma, what is our real dharma? We can understand only from the Vedic literature. Not on our own. And dharmam tu sakshat Bhagavad Pranitam. Dharma can be given only with God. We cannot manufacture. Just like Prabhupada gives the example, you can't sit at home and frame some straight laws. From today, I will keep to left or right. You can't do anything of that sort. So it is given by the state. Similarly, dharma is given by the God as enunciated in Bhagavad Gita and elaborately brought out in Srimad Bhagavatam. And if we follow the footstep of these great authorities, Mahajana Enagata Sapantha, then we'll come to the correct understanding actually. Just like in the 10th canto full of Krishna's pastime, Prabhupada explains that Putana, when Krishna was just 3-month-old baby, 3-month-old baby, killed a big Rakshashi demon Putana. Or Krishna lifting Govardhana hill. He was just 7-year-old boy in Vrindavana. He lifted Govardhana hill. Like that, so many pastimes. He killed Kaliya. So, when these people who are not coming in the proper understanding, they say these are all imaginary. Correct? These are all imaginary stories. So, Prabhupada says, what is the difficulty? For Lord, it's not at all difficult actually. He is the Supreme Lord. Everything is at his disposal. Not a big deal. Just like he lifted Govardhana hill, the Prabhupada gives this reason, logic, that so many planets are floating in the air. And it's just like a cotton swab. Is it a big thing for Krishna to lift some Govardhana hill? He can do. But these people were not coming in the proper parampara. They speculate all these things. They say these are all mythology, these are all story. As if, Prabhupada comment, as if Vyasadeva, who wrote extensively this Vedic literature, and finally Srimad Bhagavatam, is interested in writing some fictitious story or imaginary stories. No, these are all real fact. And this can be understood only by devotional service. So Prabhupada very nicely has brought out this in today's purport. Prabhupada is quoting from Srimad Bhagavatam, is quoting from Matsya Purana, Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam. The Prabhupada's purports are so wonderful actually. Otherwise, if we have to understand on our own, it is very, very difficult. That's why he also mentioned Bhagavad Gita verse, Avajananti ma muda manashintam ashritam. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They think I am also ordinary. I am not ordinary. Avajananti ma muda manashintanam. Param bhava ajananto mama bhutam. My nature is param, transcendental. So, like this we should understand. Then we can come to a correct understanding of the Vedic literature, of Lord's position and our position, and what is our relationship and what we are supposed to do in this world. These are a few points. I'll stop here. Gantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.